Don't wait till the battle's over. Don't wait till the struggle ends. Shout now, shout now, right now, shout now, shout now. Don't wait till you make it.
Everyone, and welcome to the Phillip Show. Grab your coffee. You know, what is success and what does that look like to you? So many times we kind of think about, what will make me successful? Who am I? And how do I jump, right in? Kind of like I did this right here, right? I just jumped right in. What is success? Because sometimes we need to jar our senses a little bit and really define what it means. Where am I going and how am I going to get there? And what tools, what vehicle will I use in order to get there? That road can look different for everybody. I know it looks different for you than it does for me, as it will for our guest that we're about to introduce. But what is that road, and how do you use the tools necessary in order to figure out where success lies in your journey? So Damien Hart is here. He's a real estate investor, and he's a huge proponent of success authentically, being able to see it, being able to do it, and being able to be you in the process. Damien!
Hey!
Hey, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Phillip?
I'm doing really good. It's so good to see you. I like all the color coordination going on.
Yes, I made sure I was really color coordinated for you.
Yeah, well, thank you. So wait, so where are you right now? It looks sunny. Where is this?
I am in DC right now.
Oh, okay.
But just for the weekend, I live in Miami right now. But as you know, for me, I am in different places. I like traveling, like living in different places, states.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was like, well, where are you?
Yes, right. That's a very good question for me.
Now, so you, it is interesting that you like to travel. Have you always liked to travel?
Yes, I always had. I got that bug with friends that we went to like the Dominican Republic, and so to go deep into this, that was my first trip ever, yeah. And so I was so nervous and so scared because my family is that way. Like my mom is like, wait, be careful, don't do this, don't do that, or whatever. And so we went to the Dominican Republic for the first time, and so. Of course, it's like a third world country. So then it's not like the US. So then we were on the roads at night and they had just had like a hurricane. I don't know which one happened. But then we had like plans to travel to like the city, but we had to go through a small town and they had like big potholes and like little motorcycles going fast, passing by, and then there was no lights on the road. And I was like freaking out. I was so scared because like my friends didn't know where to go because the bridge that we were supposed to take was destroyed and all these other different things. So anyway, but through that fear, and I was like, I am never traveling again. But I did get the bug because then I got a chance to see how other cultures live and how other people live. So it was kind of a great experience. So yeah, I did get that bug and I really like traveling now.
Yeah, because you're everywhere. If you all out there listening or watching, if you ever follow Damien, he's literally everywhere. And it's awesome. And a lot of people, number one, they don't have the career that allows them that kind of time or that kind of flexibility. But then they also may not have the finances to kind of get where they want to go or do the things that you decided, hey, this is valuable to me and I want to do it. Your story is so dynamic. You were in New Orleans for Katrina.
Yes.
You're in New Orleans for Katrina, and then you ended up moving to Atlanta and becoming this millionaire. Let's back up. So when you were in New Orleans, were you already started in real estate, or what was that about?
So I graduated in 1999, and I got a job with Enterprise Rental Car. And I absolutely hated that job.
Shout out to Enterprise.
Shout out to Enterprise. Yes. You weren't expecting that, right?
No. Hey.
I was like, I cannot stand this job. And it, it's not just because of Enterprise. I just knew that I just wanted to kind of have a different life. Like I didn't want to have to work for somebody else. It was part of what at the time I just didn't want to do. And so I just was like, so when I graduated, I went to Enterprise and I worked there for 2 years. But in the process, I started reading about real estate, and I bought my first property in 2000. And what I did was I lived on one side and I rented out the other side. And so then I started to use that property to buy another property. I bought another duplex, then I bought a fourplex and different things like that. So Enterprise helped me to jumpstart that because I needed the income and the job. So so that's what I did. And then fast forward, Katrina happened and destroyed all of the properties that I owned. At the time, I owned about 20 something properties. And so, yeah, it was like completely destroyed. And then, but I had insurance. And so the insurance, like flood insurance and hazard insurance, shout out to the insurance companies. So, yeah, so in that regard, I was able to be made whole. And so one of the things that happened which was a great thing, which is one of these tragedies that happens in life, like Katrina, it also made me refocus and think about, because when I had the real estate, I felt like I was stuck. I was stuck in New Orleans. I was like, because I was managing the properties. I was the one, I bought them, I managed it. It was at the time where we didn't have like a lot of technology. So when people paid their rent, and these are rental properties, when they paid their rent, they sent it in the mail. So it was like, I get it in the mail, I open up the mail, I go to the bank, I make the deposit. So I felt so stuck. Like I felt like, wow, I'm here and I can't move. And I always wanted to move. And so when Katrina happened, that really made me refocus and say, hey, look, life is too short. I am going to, just move and I'm going to figure it out. And so from Atlanta, I had my contractors renovating the properties to get them up and running in New Orleans. And I still held onto the properties and rented them out, but I moved physically to Atlanta. So that's how that transition happened.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like you just jumped right in though. Because in your story, you went from, I was kind of interested in real estate. I started, reading, and then, I had 20 properties.
Yeah. Right. I fast forward real quick, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that's so awesome about your decisions and about how you decided to either move forward, step aside, and choose a different direction was that you knew it wasn't the thing, it was the lifestyle that you really didn't enjoy. There was something about what you were doing that you were like, no, not this part of this. This isn't for me in this aspect of it. When you got to Atlanta, now that's a totally different thing. You're after Katrina, you've already had your business. And how'd you stay in that lane? How'd you say, okay, well, I'm going to keep doing this. I guess I'll be an investor. How did you see that working out with you and where you were trying to get to?
The one thing is that I enjoyed real estate, right? I enjoyed the business. I enjoyed the deal. I enjoyed finding the deal, searching for the properties, renting them out. I enjoyed like providing for people, like housing for people, like taking a dilapidated house and remodeling it, or an apartment complex and remodeling it, and then house people in that. So I enjoyed that. It was the part of the lifestyle I didn't enjoy was the fact that I was that I had to do everything. So that was part of why I didn't like Enterprise Rental Car is because I had to be there physically. So what real estate did for me was allowed me to be able to hire people to come and manage the properties for me, or renovate the properties, or repair, or take calls and things like that. So I love staying in that lane. And in Atlanta, I continue to grow in that lane in real estate. And so that's the part that I enjoyed. So that was very easy for me to continue to follow that path.
Yeah, you set your eyes on a lot of, you continued to move. Clearly, you were saying that now you live in Miami. But one of the things that's interesting is that you identified how you wanted to live and who you were and want to continue to be. And you moved forward that way. What a lot of people listening, and even including myself, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. It sounds really great. A lot of people want to work for themselves. It sounds really great, but you well know it takes a lot of discipline, and there can be, a few obstacles. What was it about you wanting the financial freedom that you're building now that said, you know what, this is going to be worth it, and just not kind of give up and say, well, I'll just go do something else?
Yeah, I mean, like, also I ran into like the recession, the Great Recession that happened in 2008. So that was very, very tragic for me because what I did was I was living. Well, one of the things is that people don't do a lot of that. I did decide to do, which was take risk. So, and I took big risks. So I bought properties, and I obviously, well, growing up, we weren't rich, so we were very poor. So I used a lot of bank financing. So my research was about like how to get bank financing and what did I need to do and what type of properties I can get financed and how they finance them, how to know the numbers. Whereas like, you're buying it, you have a mortgage at a certain interest rate, and then you have rental income, and then how much you need to profit from that to get the loans or to do the next deal. So I use that, like the mortgages and things like that, to be able to, I was living off of. And so one of the things that like Warren Buffett says is like, people you find out who are skinny dipping in the water once the tide goes out. So that was one of my situations where it's like I was living on the debt. And so then when the recession happened, the banks were like, okay, we're cutting off your lines of credit. And this is what I was living off of. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? And so that taught me so much, because then I really had to learn numbers, and I really had to say, okay, am I really an entrepreneur, or am I just like in a whole bunch of debt? Right.
Gotcha.
So it kind of really pivot my business to where I'm like, each property I buy, I need to know the ins and out of it. And also what are the problems and the setbacks that can happen, and also what would make it the most profitable, and that I live off the profits and not off the debt. So yeah, I went a long way to answer that question, but that's part of what people do or people are afraid of is the risk, and so I wasn't afraid to take that risk. But then now you need to take an educated risk, and so you only have one life to live, and I feel like you need to not be as conservative all the time, especially as an entrepreneur. And one of the important things is to see what's going on, like say whatever industry you're in. Like for me, it's real estate, so I need to see what's happening in the real estate industry that are some inconsistencies. So for example, like you have like now we had a high interest rate. So before we were at a very low interest rate, and people can get into real estate very easily. And so you can buy, so they have a lot of buyers, right? So then you had properties, which I did at the time. I sold them at that time because it was the peak. So now I'm at a position where now I want to, I'm waiting for the market to change. So that's this inconsistency that's happening in the market where now it's a seller's market. I'm sorry, it's a buyer's market now. So now that it's a buyer's market, now I'm looking at, okay, if I have cash, I can go and buy properties now because there's not so many people who I'm competing against. So it's those different things that you look at to see what is your advantage.
I like that, because you said earlier when you were talking, you had said that you went and, I'm paraphrasing, but you researched something. So it wasn't just, hey, I'm going to take a risk. You did follow up with saying an educated risk, but you said I'm going to take a risk. However, I'm going to know what I know what the risk is, because I'm going to learn about what the business is all about.
Right.
So I think that is critical. A lot of people look for financial success, and they say they just want to be either debt free. I just want to live for myself. To you, in your situation, what is the definition of financial success and freedom? What does that mean for you?
So like my goal from the beginning was always to become this millionaire, right? And so when the pandemic happened, prior to the pandemic happened, what I was doing was I just started selling my properties because I wanted to get to that millionaire status. And so July 2020, during the pandemic, I sold my last property and I was a millionaire. I had $1 million in the bank. I was like, I'm really a millionaire. Before it was like, this is on paper. So, but the irony of that is that once you get there, it's almost like you got to the top. And for me, what that was, and that was just to have that title of being a millionaire. But life is so, what happened was that I found like it gives you this temporary happiness, but the real happiness and the real success is the experiences that come with finance, right? The things that it provides for you. So it was very important that what I did was I designed my life to be a millionaire. So I was rushing to do that. And I brought people in and helped me to get to that place. But the thing was, I really realized after these years, Phillip, is that it was the happiness for me was when I was working in the business, when I was doing the properties, when I was finding the properties, and then I'm working with contractors who were saying, hey, I can't figure this out. And I can come in and say, oh, I know exactly what we need to do. We need to change this. We need to do this. We need to do that. It's in the work, right? It's in the passion. It's in the thing that you find. For me, I chose real estate, but it could be for whatever. Like for you, like I'm just happy that you found what you found, like this podcast and your songwriting and your music. It's like what you do, and it's like it's in that work. It's not necessarily like, okay, you have a hit song or what have you. Yes, that's the goal, and you get to it, but it's not like you just stop writing anymore. You just stop being Phillip. I mean, you are that, right? So it's the same thing with me. It's like when I got to that status and I sold everything, and I'm being deep about this, I'm just being open with you about it. It's like, it's like, it's money, but what do you do with the money? You want the thing that money provides. And one of the things was the things that I enjoy, which is travel. I mean, I've been to 26 countries, but the thing is, I enjoyed the countries I was in was when I was with friends and when I was traveling with people. And so that's where, that's, if anything has taught me of this career and being in this career, is that I realized that, hey, I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy getting in there because it wakes me up at 5 a.m. and say, oh my God, how can I fix this? How can I change this? What do I need to do? You know what I mean? It's that type of thing. So it's really that the thing that brings happiness is the thing that is your passion and your work. And so doing the work. And so, so now I'm like in flux of like, I'm trying to find the deal because that's what brings me happiness. Is not like sitting on the beach and just looking at waves every day. Like that's just not what brings happiness, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds good though. Sitting on the beach.
For a period of time, but not for too long.
Yeah, I'm so interested to know. A lot of times, and this is just while you were talking, a lot of times people, when they reach a certain level, sometimes their friends group changes because their access to things is different than what their friends group used to be. And everybody can't go with you on vacation, or everybody can't go with you on, whatever it is. How do you stay, I guess, I don't want to use the word authentic, but I guess grounded and real? Because sometimes people like, I'm a millionaire and now this changed in my life because I have this status. Where do you find the balance to just be Damien? Because since I've known you for a while, since I've known you, you've like been the same guy, so how do you find that balance, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, I think one of the things I learned was that I started isolating myself. Like part of that was with the pandemic and things like that. But I kind of started pushing friends away a little bit because I was like, oh, I'm focused on this thing. I'm focused on, getting to this place. And then when you get there, then I was realizing like, days will go by and I'm like, my phone is not ringing. Like friends are not calling and WhatsApp. And then it's like, I created this cocoon for myself where, again, that's what I mean by you can have money in a bank, but if you don't have the people and the family and the friends around you, then it's all for naught, right? So, and we know that from just growing up in, religion and church, and the authentic person is the person that you can be when you're around people you trust. and people who know you, right? And so that's what keeps you grounded is the people. Like I can't go around my family and say, oh, I'm this whatever. They're like, no, you're Damien. We know who you are. You know, everything else, you know. So so yeah, and just like you, I can't like fool you. You know who I am. You know, we've been knowing each other almost 20 years, I think. So it's like, so those are I think it's the people that keep you grounded. It's the, it's not the cars, it's not the travel, it's not those things. It's the authentic. I'm having trouble with that word.
I know it's hard.
The authenticity comes in with the people around you who know you, and that's what makes you you, right? That's why I can, fumble around with that word and still be okay with you because you know me. It's like whatever.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting, and I think that's really great. It kind of makes me think about just so many things, people, and you mentioned comfortability and who you're authentic around. So I have a question. Okay, so you're in real estate, you got the money, cool, you can travel. Who is Damien? What do you like to do besides travel? Who are you?
So yeah, my hobbies are like I love to read. So that's, but things I like to read are like self-help things and things like that. But yeah, so I like love to read. I love to exercise. I love to go out biking. That's part of like what comes with the travel is that I love to walk around. I love to, see and enjoy culture. I love to be in parks, and I love volleyball. I love sign language. So these are the things that kind of what I think for people in general is when people think about being an entrepreneur or being a millionaire or those types of things, it affords you the opportunity to pursue the thing that you are, the Damien that I am. Reason why I'm in DC right now is because a deaf friend invited me and said, hey, there's a festival here. And for whatever reason it is, I love like sign language. I love deaf culture. I can do it for free. I've done it for free for many years, like just interpreting and things like that. So that's who I am. Like I love helping others and being that conduit for my deaf friends and people who I feel like it's because people need something from me that I can provide as a talent, as a skill. And it's so beautiful to be able to do that. And it's like one of those things where you like time just stops, right? When I'm signing and when I'm enjoying being around them. Same thing with like volleyball. It's the same thing. It's like that's why I always encourage people who say they want to lose weight or do things like that. It's like, find that thing that makes you move without even thinking about time.
I'm thinking of what makes me move.
Pizza. Going to the pizza.
I'm literally about to say, well, pizza wouldn't count.
But walk into the pizza parlor, baby.
See? There's always a solution.
All
I can walk.
Right? It's all about perspective here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna take a sip of water on that, like you would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Me. I love how you opened up the kind of umbrella and the purview to make it make sense on what it can afford you. It can afford you time. It can afford you opportunity. I'm sure there's some people listening now who really want to experience, what you're talking about from your perspective as somebody who is a professional in the real estate investing, but also a professional in your pursuit of your journey. What are 3 tips, if you will, that you would give somebody who is looking for financial freedom?
The tips I would say is like number one is like what I talked about before is finding the inconsistencies in the market. Like for me in the real estate is finding, people who are losing their properties or someone who may have died and then the property becomes available, that type of thing. So it's like pursuing the inconsistencies in the market. And the second thing is to know what you're doing. So whatever that field is, for me is real estate. So like to know the field, like to read it, research it, always be a student about it. And so knowing it. And then also with that comes with being great with the money, like understanding, like for me, I'm dealing with a lot of money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. So I can't make a big mistake because that will really set me back. So it's like being on top of it, knowing all the numbers, understanding what's happening in the market and that sort of thing. So, and then the third thing was like work like hell, whatever it is that you do. Again, we go back to that passion and what you love. And so it's not work when it's like it's your passion is what you love. So time just stops. And so that's the thing. And one of the things, like I know when people may be drawn into real estate is that a lot of times people do it because they're thinking about the money of it or what it can provide. But also it's like you have to also focus on what would you do with the money and what would you do with whatever entrepreneurship that you would pursue is what would you do with it and to pursue that lifestyle as you go. Like life is a journey. I know that's, cliche, but life is a journey and it's a part enjoying the journey. And that's part of like one of the things that I thank God that now I'm able to, at my age, to be able to reflect on is that I didn't really enjoy the journey. I was just trying to get to a destination. And so now to be successful, I think in general, is to enjoy the time. And when I read a lot about happiness, and happiness is, obviously a state of mind. And it's like what you can't always be happy, but to have a sense of contentment in yourself is where what we all striving to be and try to go towards. And so that to me is will help you to get to that financial freedom because you know what makes you happy and you know why you're doing what you're doing.
You sound so motivated and so encouraging, and it's awesome. You also said that you read some self-help books. How has your reading impacted how you think about life and make decisions?
I think that's truly the secret, right? I think that one thing that happened, I'll tell you a story, like when I was a kid, I think it was one of the great things about what happened when I was a child, and my mom sent me off to this camp, and it was a reading camp, just to get me out of the house, I think, basically, but in the summertime, but it was the best thing because what the camp was designed around, and maybe you and I can do this for kids now, but it was designed to get kids reading, right? And it was a big camp. I mean, like hundreds and hundreds of kids from all over. And what it was that we would read, and we have so much time in reading, and then we'll discuss it as a class, but then also the teacher. So it was a competition. So whoever would read the most books would win in your class, and then also would win in general in the whole camp. And again, it was hundreds, even thousands of kids. And so what it taught me was the love of books and love of reading. And so, reading, that's a great question that you asked, is that it really opened the door for me to even pursue real estate, because I was like, wow, I can really be successful financially through real estate. And so I just learned from others. And so that's whatever your career is and whatever your passion is that you have to read, because just think about it, a successful person or a person that's doing it, telling their story in a book, and how much more can that help you? You can learn from other people's mistakes. So it catapulted me in such a way that it's unbelievable.
That's good, because I think it's interesting because people read now. This is totally off. We're going down a rabbit trail, but I just had a conversation with somebody. We were talking about our digital time now, how everybody's in a digital time and everything is so immediate. And we were talking about how people are gravitating to or away from actually reading and books and ingesting actual information because everything is so automated. So I love the fact that you highlighted the effectiveness and the positive, results that reading actually can bring.
And I think that's so important. That point is so important because I think a part of the question that you were saying about the things that make you successful or financially free is that you do not listen to the noise, right? And you learn to use social media as something that benefits you, because what they're doing is trying to suck your time and your energy and everything focus on them. Why? Because then they have advertisers and they making money off of you. And so it's so important that you use that social media as you want, or if you don't use it at all, it's even better. It's the fact that you don't get part of the distractions, right?
Yeah.
And you just become more focused. And I think that's really what success is about focusing on the right things and not having all these different distractions that take away your time. We waste so much time. We only have one life, right?
Yeah.
And it's so short. And so when we focus on just looking at, pictures and cats and things like that, it just numbs us to life itself. And when, going out and enjoying the sun and travel, or whatever you do. So I think that's so important. That's part of success is that, or that brings success is being focused.
Yeah. I will neither confirm nor deny that I'm one of those people who just scrolls. But
long as you have your time designated that this is what I'm going to do right now, 30 minutes scrolling.
Right. 30 minutes
great,
scrolling.
because then, it's also, I will say that, because of what happened with Katrina, my friends were dispersed all over the US, right? So I'm able to catch up and see what they're doing in their lives, right? I mean, like you and I don't talk all the time, but I can see what you're doing. I can see the people you're interviewing. You can see what I'm doing. So I don't want to discredit that as well.
Yeah. Use it as a tool. I love that. That. Damien, thank you for being here. Thank you for making time in your trip to DC to talk, man.
Yes. Thank you so much. I love what you're doing. Continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing some more of your action pictures on social.
Yeah.
So funny. So that's Damien Hart, real estate investor, but more so motivational and inspiring communicator when it comes to what does financial freedom mean to you, and what strategies are you putting together to ensure that you're going in the right direction. One of the things that I'm going to take away from today is don't be distracted. We've talked about here a lot. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of competition for our attention. Make sure that you give yourself and your plan and your success strategy more attention than all of the competition that wants your attention. I know, go look up attention. I said it like 4 times, but you get it. So as usual, you are the best you in the world, and I will see you next time on The Phillip Show.
Don't wait.